Oh, I got it. Sorry. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Abington Board of Selectmen's meeting of May 11th, 2020 at 6:30. All those that can, I'd ask that you stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, public announcements. Ken, you have one, I believe.
I do. I just saw it on Facebook before I came here, so I just wanted to let everybody know. Last meeting, we talked about the retirement of Deputy Chief Ron Howe. So I guess the fire department is pleased to announce that Captain John W. Jack Glenn, has been promoted to the rank of Deputy Fire Chief effective today. Jack has over 31 years of experience in fire department, including 24 years veteran of this department. Jack was Abington's first paramedic, and brought his skills to begin the life-saving service for residents in 1996. He was appointed to fire captain in 2010, serves as the department's public informational officer. He's been the acting deputy chief for several months last year when Ron was out. So it is the fire department's pleasure to work with Deputy Glenn and have full confidence in him in fulfilling this new role and overseeing the fire prevention division of the Abington Fire Department. So congratulations, Deputy Glenn.
Okay, thanks, Ken. And I have a public announcement on a sadder note and would ask for a moment of silence after I read this. Short notice, but we want to be aware the weekend passing of retired Abington Fire Captain Peter Austin. Peter began his service to the residents of Abington in 1966 as a call firefighter, appointed permanent firefighter in 1970, promoted to fire captain in 1993 until his retirement in 2003. Peter also returned as a fire dispatcher from 2007 to 2009. At this time, services will be private, but his family is hoping for a larger celebration of life at a later date. Again, pause for a moment of silence for Peter. Okay, thank you all very much. Peter was a great guy. I knew him for a long, long time. So
it's been a tough couple weeks. They lost Win Patton too, as a longtime fireman.
Yeah, it's been that tough for everybody, I think. So, all righty. So moving on, action items. Vote to approve the minutes of May 4th, 2008.
Of what year?
I'm sorry?
Of what year, Tom?
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
May 4th, 2020.
2020.
What did I say?
2008.
Did I?
Yeah. I mean,
go away.
It's one thing to miss like a year or two, but 12?
Okay. I don't know what happened. Sorry. The pandemic.
I'll make a motion to accept the minutes of May 4th, 2020.
Second it.
Again, okay, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. All righty. All right, next on the agenda, Scott, we're going to discuss transition report of town manager Rick LaFawn. Do you gentlemen want to go through each one? Do you want Scott to go through them, or what's your preference, please?
I think Scott can just touch upon the issues that he thinks are relevant. That's all right. If there's something on the list that we think he can brought up afterwards, we can just bring it up.
All right, Scott, do you have that?
Yeah, I have the list.
Right.
So, yeah, as you know, the senior center roof, that's complete. They had a sign off today. It was inspected and the work is completed. So that's all set. They're closing it out. Apparently it was done with grant money for the most part. or exclusively with grant money, so that was nice. I'm told that the Millennium Park Bridge project is also finished or just about finished up. I haven't been over to look at it. I don't know who's checked it on our end, but that was the update I got. So I'll check with the DPW director. The Turntable Park, I haven't gotten anything on. I do know that we had talked, Tom and I ran into Rick on his last day, and I know he was going out there to deal with it. As far as I know, what I was told today was that there was the dispute with the neighbor has been resolved, that they've agreed that, you know, they're not going to encroach any further into the neighbor's property or even any further beyond the town property and where the neighbor has been using some of that land. So I think we're just memorializing the fact that, yeah, that's town land, but we're not going to do anything over there. What's that question?
Nope, I said okay.
The MS4, you know, that's just the ongoing stormwater regulations. We have it in the warrant. We have an article for it this year. It's something that we have to do. All communities are having to do it. We have a short amount of time, you know, over a period of years to comply with it. And this is just our phase for this year. I don't have any answers for you on the landfill, but it looks pretty obvious what he says here. DEP is not requesting us to do anything, so I recommend we don't do anything. The dog park, I talked with Sue about that today. I guess they are working on that, and they're waiting to hear from some consultant. Waiting to hear. I don't have any further information on the Memorial Bridge analysis, but I also told that we were going to get something on that. You see that we're going to do some more work on Hancock Street, Quincy Street. I haven't gotten anything. I don't know when that's planned for, and I'll have to talk to DPW about that, see if they have any more information. The sewer bed, Charles Street Solar. I think we had something in this packet that came with it. It looks like somebody was proposing to us to do something there. Obviously, if it's town-owned land and we want to entertain putting some solar fields out there for revenue, we can go out to bid for that. But, you know, obviously we can't negotiate with any single proposer, as, you know, it actually has to be bid under Chapter 25A. So it's something to consider. I don't know if, you know, if it's something that this board or the town has embraced or not, but if they have, I recommend that we put a bid package together. It's a little different when you do a bid for solar fields. It's not your typical bidding process. It's under a different chapter. They have different timelines. The two that I've done, I've had a consultant for both of them. So I'll have to look a little more into this and just see how complicated it'll be, and then decide whether, if it's worth it, maybe we'll bring on a consultant, or maybe we can, you know, maybe we can do it without the consultant. But there also may be something in Green Communities money that would help us, you know, procure a consultant, so we're not putting anything out of pocket. So I'm going to look more into that, but, you know, it isn't a bad idea. HVAC for Town Hall, I'm chasing the contractor. I talked to him today. My office is very hot and other parts are really cold, so I'm anxious to get it fixed too. You voted on that senior center utility easement. I believe you all came in and signed off on it. Can't tell you anything about the Pohoraki property, except that apparently someone's in the Ukraine and they're unreachable. Union contracts, I'm gonna have to talk to John Clifford. Looks like we're up to date with everything but library, so we're gonna have to start, and I'll talk to John and see, you know, what kind of schedule you want to get going on. But the library union is running out this year. Wage and classification plan, I've reviewed the report from the Collins Center, and it's actually just as I feared. They did one for us in Whitman. It was very confusing. There's missing pieces within the plan. I don't recommend that we go forward with that plan right now. I think that, it's going to take a little more time. There is pretty much everybody is covered under some sort of a labor agreement, other than in the few people that aren't covered under a labor agreement, are scheduled for cost of living increases in accordance and pretty much relative to the same as everybody who is in labor agreements. So I think there's no harm in not implementing this now and waiting until we can actually decipher exactly what was going on in the plan. Retail marijuana licensing. I think they're just the companies are out there, and we're just waiting for them to get their final approvals, and they'll come to us. Sewer bed solar project. Again, if that's something that we own and we want to put it out to bid, we can. Municipal finance piece, I will cover a little more in depth when I do my report. That's sort of a ever evolving thing right now. In Hillside Cemetery, I don't know what we're going to do. Apparently, we'll have to look into it, but apparently it's not being kept up anymore. These trustees can't keep up with it anymore, so we're going to have to find someone to keep up with it. I don't know what the pleasure of the town is going to be on that, because there could be other smaller cemeteries that trustees are not keeping up on, and I don't think we necessarily want to burden the DPW with taking care of stuff like that. So I'll look into it a little bit more, but we obviously don't want to become overgrown and in bad shape. Board of Selectmen policies, I got the Word file on that today, so we are going to continue on with that. I'll have basically a Board of Selectmen manual, and we're also going to do other policies. Right off the bat, I want to do the purchasing policy and the procurement policy, and then financial management policies. I think this is something that we probably have some of these policies, but I want to make sure they're up to date, and I'll bring them all to the board one at a time, and we'll put them into place. But I think the first one's probably going to be the procurement policy. And that seems to be it for the transition report. I mean, for the most part, I've been able to get quite a bit of information out of the department heads. Sue's been a big help on a lot of this stuff, and we're just moving forward.
Okay, any questions on the transition report, gentlemen? Anything that Scott might have missed that you want to discuss, or just keep all in mind?
I got one question, Tom. Scott, on the police union contract, have you been able to dig into that? I know that's a very complex issue at this point. Meet with town council.
I have talked to town council. There was an issue that we're kind of going back and forth on. Not really sure that we can discuss it without being in executive session. Okay. So I don't want to get into it, but I have talked to them about it, and actually I have sort of deferred to town council's opinion on it. But yeah, I'd be happy if and I'll check with him. So if it's something that I can do in open session, which I'm doubting, but we can probably do an executive session just to give you an update on it.
Great, thanks.
Scott, question for you on the landfill. I don't know if they had it in Duxbury or not, but if the town, using the property beyond the current activity, could we look into that? Is there any possibility we could look about expanding it? I don't know if they do, I know Hanover does like a give and take. They have like a bunch of different things there where you can leave stuff for other people to take. And will that be something we could look at, or is it worth?
Oh, you mean like a mall? You mean at the transfer station type of thing where they leave stuff and?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, I think you could. I mean, do we have? Well, we don't have a transfer station, right? I mean, everything's curbside pickup.
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think right now a leaf dump, but
I think if we, and I can check with DEP, but I think if you do pretty much anything to change the characteristics of what you're doing on there could result in them wanting us to cap it or do something.
Yeah, we're basically gonna have to cap it if we change it at all.
And that's typically pretty expensive. So.
Yeah.
But it's funny because we did have sort of a similar situation, and we have to do the same. We had to do the same thing there that we have to do in Abington. Is you just got to constantly monitor it. You have the monitoring wells, and you just as long as everything stays status quo, everything's
Okay.
good.
Okay, we all set on that?
Just one thing, Mr. Chairman, the solar fields, I don't know if the board wants to take action on that, or if we want to put it on the agenda for an upcoming meeting. I think it's a great thing. I probably won't see it as when I'm still on the board, but afterwards, I think it's a great thing for the sewer beds aren't used that much that they do. I would check with Griffin's Dairy Committee because they do back up to that. They also back up to the rail trail, but that section, it used to be a potty spot when I was younger. Tom, you probably remember that too, but it doesn't get much use. I do know that previous, when heavy snows happen, sometimes they'll take the snow from the center of town and bring it in there and dump it because there's a stream nearby. But other than that, it really doesn't get any use at all. And it's become kind of a potty spot once in a while too. So it might be a good investment for the town to make some money and put, because it's kind of out of the way. There will be a few abutters that might say something, because we had talked one time about putting a dog park there, and there was a concern about the barking, but solar panels don't bark, they don't potty, so might not be a bad thing for the town.
Okay, no, I think we'll Scott, we'll try and get that on the agenda for the next meeting.
Okay, let me, and I'll see if I have any, if there's any chance of us getting any free help through a grant or anything with the community compact or the green communities or one of those. If we can get a consultant to work with us on it, it'd be really helpful, especially if we can get it for nothing.
Great idea.
Okay. All right with that, Ken?
Yep.
Okay. Anything else? Discuss town meeting and budget. I know, Scott, you got something, and I got a copy of it from Leanne. Do you want to go over that?
Yeah, so we have a few things, and I guess I can jump to that, within my report, because it'll probably all sort of flow together. So budget-wise, we're going to meet with the.
Hello.
Hello?
Yeah. Hold on.
You guys hear me now?
Yeah.
Hello. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can.
I can hear you, Jim.
I've been trying to ask a question. Every single one of you has crashed into me like you didn't even hear me.
I
On the turntable, what?
I did not hear you ask for a question. I apologize for that, Jim.
That's all right. Every one of you is slammed into me every time I try to ask a question. I thought I was stuck on mute. On the turntable, what kind of encroachment to the neighbor? Is it just like a garden or?
I haven't been out there. I thought he had maybe had some pictures last time, but yeah, I'm not sure how extensive that was.
If I could, Mr. Chairman, I'm a member of the Historical Commission, and I actually went out there with Rick and Doug Alwick. I think it was a couple Saturdays ago, not last Saturday, Saturday before. What the Turntable Park, there's one in Whitman by the train station.
Yeah.
And it's really neat. Scott might, it's just where they used to turn the trains. So it's really big. It's completely grown over. In fact, there's a couple of really, really big trees in the middle of it, where the trains would have been. But the concrete is still there. They excavated a little bit of it so you can see it. You get a chance, it's right at the very beginning is that Brighton Street, I think? I'm not sure, but it's on the very beginning of the rail trail. The neighbors, their yard, there was some miscommunication. Their yard kind of extends. It doesn't extend onto the concrete, but they have a set of trees there too. I don't think it's a big deal though. It really isn't.
Okay.
They're willing to work and compromise, and we won't. They've actually extended the yard because they assume that's where it was. They know now that the yard doesn't go there, but the part that they use is not going to be part of the Turntable Park, so I don't think it's a big deal. Does that
All right,
answer-
thanks.
Does that answer your question, Jim?
It does. The other question I had was about the senior center roof money.
Mhm.
Does that just go back into the budget, or can we just assign that somewhere else, or do we gotta go back to town meeting to get
No,
that?
actually, there is, it is in town meeting. So there are a couple of places, one into, I think we're gonna put some into stabilization.
Okay.
And I was talking actually to Sue, there was also an article that was gonna use some of the money to do other improvements. I haven't gone over there, but apparently they need some work on the parking lot and
Doors.
doors. So there is an article that would take some of that money, use it for that, and then other parts of it will go into, or the rest of it will go into stabilization.
All right, thank you.
But Jim, that's something that does have to be, any unexpected spending money from articles has to go through town meeting to be reused for another purpose. So.
Yeah, that was my question. Thanks.
Okay, I didn't mean to jump ahead or jump on, crash into Jim or anything, so my apologies for that.
All he is did it.
Okay.
I have no,
Follow my lead, I think.
Must have been a glitch in the computer.
that's it.
So now we can back onto the town meeting?
Okay, so, all right, well, so right now, the plan is to go forward with town meeting on the 22nd and 23rd. As you know, a town meeting would be the 22nd, the elections will be the 23rd. The only, and I believe the only issue that that Leanne has with that, obviously, is it's one's right after the other. So she has to get over and they have to set up the next morning, to get the elections going. But we did walk through, I met with Sean Riley, with Leanne, with Marty. We kind of looked at everything, how we would set it up. We have a plan and, it's going to be developed a little bit more. Right now, what we don't know is whether we have, whether the quorum rule will, whether we'll be allowed to reduce that or not. I haven't gotten anything from the state giving us guidance one way or the other. I'm gonna reach back out to Allison Sullivan, and I'm sure she'll have some sort of an update, but obviously I think we have to go forward. My plan would be to ask you next Monday night to make that sort of final decision that, yeah, these are the dates. We're gonna go forward, finalize the warrant if it has to be finalized, and whatever we have to do. Because the following Monday after that, I believe, is the holiday. But we certainly want to be ready by that first week in June. So once we do have this, whether, once we have it finalized, our intention is to meet with the cable access, with Kevin Tachi, and do whatever we can to get information to the community on the difference, what town meeting is going to be like. It's going to be a stripped down town meeting. Our intention would only be to do the budget, to do articles that are time sensitive, like the flood maps, and any spending that absolutely has to be done. We'll put all the zoning off, anything that we don't have to do, we'll put off. My guess is there's a good chance that we may end up having to have a fall town meeting anyways. We're not sure, which, brings us into the other part of, we're not sure what the budget deficit could be like with the state. I did get a message from Senator Keenan's office today. They didn't give us very much guidance, but basically what he said was ignore the governor's numbers from January, because we're not giving you that. He pointed out that back in 2008, when we had the recession, the unrestricted government aid was, reduced by as much as 28%. So they're not throwing any numbers at us like that, but we are assuming, we're starting to think of this as worst case scenario. Currently, the state has got a $700 million deficit. They do have $3.5 billion in stabilization, but they don't have any plan. There's no indication on what they're going to do with it, whether they're going to balance their budget, whether they're there's anything that's going to trickle down to us to help us out. They made very little mention of Chapter 70 money. So on that note, we are meeting tomorrow. I have a meeting with the finance group, and we are going to do a review of all the numbers, and we're going to bring our unrestricted general government aid number down. We're going to probably reduce Chapter 70 to, at best, what they were last year, and take any increases out of them, because we know there's going to be no increases. So what that's going to do, I'm not sure. I'll know better tomorrow, but I will have by next Monday night a plan for us. So, you know, that's sort of the budget, and you know, there's nothing good coming out of this message. That's the budget, and that's town meeting. The other part is the town elections. So we met after we looked at town, at where we're having town meeting. We went over to the Emerald Hall to look at where we're going to do the elections and do sort of the same. Hey, what is this going to look like? Because we have to be able to space everybody out. We want the plan for, you know, we're going to hand out masks. We're going to, you know, do hand sanitizer. How are we going to protect the check-in registrars and stuff? We're really going to push absentee balloting. And so Leanne has some information that we want to get out there. We'll start getting it out as soon as possible on how people can do absentee balloting, how they can go on the website. They can go on a link. They can get their absentee ballots. They can get it in. There's plenty of time. They can drop them off. They can put them back in the mail. But what we'd really like to do is to have as many people. We'll get the candidates to let their people know. We'll do it on cable access. I'm going to do some PSAs with Kevin Tachi, with Sean Riley, and you know, anyone else, to try and really let everybody know that this is the preferable way for you to get your vote in, to try and reduce the numbers that actually show up and come out to the poll. On that note, we've also been working pretty diligently to figure out how we're going to reopen town hall. We're hoping that after the 18th, some of the guidelines that come out, as you know, the governor came out today and said, we're going to reopen in 4 phases. And, you know, phase 1 will allow X amount. Phase 2, he was very vague on what was going to be allowed, what those industries were going to be, but we're assuming somewhere in phase 1, I would like to think town hall will open back up, but maybe it won't be till phase 2. Sue McQuan and Marty have been working to sort of get town hall in a safe way. They ordered plexiglass shields that will go over the counters wherever in the office that receives the public. The plexiglass shield will protect the workers. There'll be an area for them to slide paperwork underneath. There'll be signage when you come in that'll explain whatever the rules and regulations are going to require. And it may be, my guess is at the very least, it'll be, you know, if you're entering the building, you have to have a mask on. If you feel sick, if you felt sick, if you have a fever in the last few days, please don't enter the building. Maintain social distancing. There'll be hand sanitizer stations when you walk in the building. Other issues that we have to consider too is just because we're open, my assumption is childcare won't be open right away. We have to look and see how many of the employees will have a problem getting to work because they don't have childcare. You know, so there's other, you know, a lot of other considerations on figuring out just how we're going to get back up to steam. In the offices where people are too close to one another, we'll have to do something to protect them. When it might be another plexiglass shield if they can't distance themselves within the office. And we also ordered plexiglass shields for all the registers at town meeting and at the election. So they actually have a small one that'll sit right in front of them. So when people do come to register, there'll be something to protect them. We'll have them all wearing masks also. So that's the good news.
You mean there's bad news?
So yeah, like I said, there'll be more to come on what our final plan will be. We're going to do everything we can to get, like I said, public service announcements. I'd like to do probably a dry run where we'll have on cable access, where we'll actually have a dry run of showing what to expect when you get to town meeting, what to expect when you come to a new town hall, when we do reopen, things like that. But again, that you'll see most of that will probably be the first week of June.
Because Scott, we have to, excuse me, Scott, we have to get the information out like around June 5th, the warrant out around June 5th or the 8th at the latest or something, right?
Yeah.
If we do the 22nd.
Yep. Yeah. So that's my intention is I'd like to have it mostly finalized. I'm thinking by Monday night of next week, if that was your plan to meet then. Certainly, I mean, that the only other option that I see there, if you wanted, we would, because I believe the 25th is a holiday, so unless you wanted to meet on the 26th, and that would be, giving us enough time, I think, to lock everything in.
I think our plan is, I think we said that last week, is to just continue straight Monday night meetings. So
All right.
For next week.
So that would be my hope, is that we would have all those answers on the 18th finalized, and then we'll go forward. Some other news. The Parks and Recreation Department, I believe they reached out to you, Tim. They're going to have a meeting on the 20th.
Yeah.
Because we also have to try and figure out whether there's going to be any parks or recreation programs, if there's anything that's going to be allowed by the state, what they're going to look like if they are going to allow them, and how we're going to be able to implement safety procedures if we do go forward with them. I really, like I said, we didn't really get much sense on anything with a timeline from the state, and we're certainly up against running out of time. People would have to be, the summer help would have to be notified relatively soon. We'd have to go through the process of bringing them on board. The ones that could be quarried, that are old enough, that have to be quarried. We'd have to get that process going. So yeah, I'm not. I guess we'll see what that's like and what they're thinking on the 20th. Strawberry Valley opened, so that's good news. The director reported they had a great weekend. 250 plus rounds of golf. The staff did everything that they had to do to comply. They removed the bunker rakes, ball washers. They increased the time in between tee times. People had to show up 15 minutes ahead of time. They didn't allow any walk-ons. Pretty much tried to do just credit cards. They were at first they weren't going to allow carts, period. But the governor did say, anybody who was requires a cart because of any health or disability issues, we'd have to give them a cart, which is great. So they've come up with a plan on how to disinfect that cart for the people when they go to use them. The clubhouse is closed, and the maintenance workers are all working independently, so they're spread out from each other. But I think you'll probably see a lot of people out there next week. It's supposed to be pretty nice after tomorrow, I think, or after today. And that's all I got for you today.
That's your town manager's report, Scott?
Sorry if it's not up to stuff. I'll try and get another page of fluff next week.
I don't have a problem with that. I mean, everything that we're doing with trying to get town meeting, the election going, is just, it's going to be crazy. So. Yeah,
it's taken a lot of time, but you know what? Everybody wants to make sure we do it right.
Yeah.
And the as much as obviously the numbers are paramount, and getting the budget whittled down again to whatever we to what we have to do. the other part of it is making sure that we're keeping everybody safe. And when we bring them into town meeting, we're doing everything we can to space them out, and keep them from, leaving there on, sick. We want everybody to come in healthy, and we want them to leave healthy.
Right. And Scott, you mentioned that you're gonna meet with is it the finance committee or the FOG, which is the financial?
Actually, I'm meeting with both. Tomorrow I'm meeting with the FOG, and we're gonna start, we really have to refine the numbers because of, like I said, we can't use these cherry sheet numbers that we got. We can't use the Chapter 70 numbers that we got. We have to revert at best back to last year's numbers. We can't, there's no sense in using an inflated number. So that's gonna mean we're gonna, take a good look at these and make some reductions where we have to. And then I do have a meeting with the finance committee. So, but they did not meet last week. So it'll be my first encounter with the finance committee. And again, we'll have to, let them know what's coming up and some of the review that we're going to have to do. So they're actually, hopefully, they won't be able to make any recommendations yet, but hopefully the following week I can get them in a position where they can start making their recommendations on articles. I don't think any of the spending will change. The free cash articles will probably all stay the same. But I will say that probably next week, next Monday night, we'll be announcing, I'm guessing we're going to have to announce a spending freeze and a hiring freeze. And I don't know how long that'll last. I think, like I said, we'll go forward and we'll go to town meeting and approve the spending articles, but I don't think may not be till after the first of the year before we actually spend any of it.
We'll be looking mostly at the budget, and any articles that are federal or required or something like that. And
yeah, really, it's going to be the budget, and then flood maps. We have to do the flood maps, which should be quick. Shouldn't take much time there. But other than that, I think any zoning articles, those can wait. We'll have to have a special or they'll wait a year, whatever the case may be. But there's no sense in keeping people any longer in the building than we have to keep them.
Right. And Scott, would we have to vote on what is 53E or whatever, departments that
I believe that article was in there, and
but it's not part of the budget, is it, or is it?
It's not, but if it's time sensitive, we should do it.
Right, that's what I mean. So I want to make sure that that all the selectmen and townspeople, whatever, wear those, that we have to move on those too.
Yeah, and in the discussion I had with Sean, and what our thought is like I said, we're going to do some public service announcements. We want to let everybody know that it's a pared down town meeting and what we're doing, but we're also going to put all of it out there, and maybe we can have a session with Kevin, with Sean, Matt, myself, where people can reach out to us to ask questions ahead of time on budget articles and what's going on, and so we can help answer questions that other people might want to ask, or they may say, okay, well, I get it, I'm good with it. And at town meeting, I don't have to ask it then. Like I said, our plan and our hopes would be to get whatever we need to get through it as openly and transparently as possible, but also as safely as possible.
Scott, you mentioned about maybe Monday calling for a hiring freeze.
Yeah.
Does that include part-time park and rec people?
That's what I have to talk to them, and that's why I don't want to announce it just yet, because we got to consider the implications, and I want to see, if we would have to do it if there's going to be a program. Like I said, at some point we have to decide what the program's going to look like, and if it's still feasible to do it. If it's so pared down, how do you get young kids not to be within 6 feet of each other? I don't know. I mean, so if
Junior-
that's
junior-
still a
like junior high
requirement by the
dance.
state, what do you do? You can't put them all in bubbles?
You can start with my kids on that one.
It'd be easier to put you in the bubble.
Yeah.
I'll
Yeah.
take it at this point.
There'll be no spots left at the camp.
True.
So yeah, I don't want to be the downer, but unfortunately, it is going to be a tough year, and especially for stuff like that. And then the other part of it is, like I said, I don't know how many people are going to want to sign up for it. I don't know how many people actually really depend on it. So there's a lot of, we have a lot of issues that we have to work out in a short amount of time.
So Scott, how was your first week?
Awesome.
Welcome to Abington.
Gentlemen, anything? Scott, do me a favor, will you check for next week, John Clifford, if we should have executive session for anything that we had just
Yep.
talked about earlier, so
Yep.
sure that we do that. Gentlemen, anything for the agenda next week besides what we have already? Anything that we're missing or we need to do now?
Not for next week, but sometime in the next couple of months, can we get a litigation update? I don't think we've had one. I think I've had one since I got elected.
Yeah, we never even did one last year. We were supposed to do it shortly after the elections, and we never did.
I would suggest you do it right after the election so the new members get on board with everything.
Because
Yeah, I
why
just
do
wanna-
it now and then after we have a couple new members? So
Other thing I thought of, I know the governor extended you two to stay on. Next month, we're going to be, reappointments are coming up. Are we going to ask those people to stick around if, something to think about?
Nancy's working on the list of people that, is that what you're talking about, Jim? The
Yeah.
volunteers or whatever?
Yeah, the different committees.
Yeah, she's putting a list together, and I think we'll have that by next week.
Okay, 'cause I know of one person who wanted to get off. I don't know if we have a replacement.
I know
I
of two
would
people in
tend
the
to-
picture right now that want to get off, but that's another story.
Yeah, I'm looking at two right there.
That's true.
All right. I got nothing more.
All right, Tim, anything that you want for next week? Just,
I'll think of it during the week, I'm sure.
okay, all right. If anybody does, just get in touch with me or Scott, Ashley, or Nancy or whatever, so. We're not doing a lot of public announcements, but there's not much to announce when nothing's going on, so. I feel bad about that, but it is what it is. Anything else?
One last thing, Scott, last week you mentioned about getting some reviews from some of your contacts. Did you happen to get those or?
I do have a copy of one that I had, and Nancy did also find a copy that I don't know. Did she get it to everybody?
Yeah, she
Yeah.
sent, I think she sent it to me. Scott, I have a couple too that I have, that I'll drop up to the office to you.
Okay, yeah,
All right.
and I'll send out the one that I do have.
As long as they get to me and Tim so we can
You
review
gotta
them.
start now.
Yeah.
Good
And
luck, Tim.
I can do
All right, I
that.
promise I got nothing anymore.
I don't believe him. But I'll entertain a motion unless there's something else.
Make the motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of adjourning?
Aye.
Unanimous. Everyone, please, again, be safe.
You too, Tom.
Maybe we're getting closer. I certainly hope so.
Numbers were pretty low today.
Yep, we're getting there. I just don't want them to spike back up when they start, when they start allowing people to do things that they're not allowed to do right now, so. I think that'll be the scary part, so, but hope not.
Fingers crossed.
All right, Scott, everyone, thank you very much. Have a great evening.
Thank you.
Yeah, the rain.
Take care.
I'll see you tomorrow.